and of course nutritionally. And it's just it's an amazing thing to keep reading this book all the time and going over everything with you, one step at a time with you, but literally getting into the mind of why you wrote the things you write. So today we're going to tackle a few of the chapters, including one of the things that I love talking about, a little bit about supplements and things like that that go into the body. But let's talk about nutrition and lifestyle change. And you talked a little bit about, balanced eating and, and you even talk about chewing and things like that. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking about when you were writing this part about lifestyle change, because changing is mentally first. You first have to believe that you could change something, and then you got to go after it and do it, right? You have to activate that thought and put it into action.
Right. David, thanks for having me back. I'm excited for episode 3, and hello everyone. Welcome to episode 3, Hope, Health, and Healing. And everything that I put into this book was strategic. It had a purpose. I mean, the book itself is all about healing our community. And I wanted to touch on as many aspects as possible so our community, so the reader would get the more knowledge as possible, because the whole purpose of this was to expose the reader, to create a foundation for healing and health and longevity, right? So when we talk about nutrition and lifestyle change, I like to talk about balance, because balance to me is the fundamental of healthy living. Back when we were growing up, I mean, if you did your food and nutrition classes, they were always telling us about your balanced diet or your balanced meal plan, and why is it important. And for me, I thought that it was uh, the key to everything, right? It was, for me, it is like one of the hidden secrets of health, healing, and longevity. I mean, if you practice balance in every aspect of your life, then you would have unlocked, to me, one of the secrets to life, right? And so when we talk about meal planning, it's all about ensuring that you have structure on your plate, right? You want to ensure that there's proper portion control. You want to ensure that you have a proper amount of micros and macros. And then you want to collaborate that with exercise, because the purpose of eating is to nourish our bodies, but then in order to be healthy, balanced eating must be combined with exercise. It's like eating healthy, diet, and exercise. It's like the three fundamentals. And then we also need to talk about calories. Like the average person would need about, according to the Food and Drug Administration, our average of 2,000 calories per meal, right? But sorry, per day.
Correct. And for the
But that kind of like vary depends on a lot of stuff, like your age, your physical activity, um, um, if your health and fitness, or your health and wellness uh, goal. So a lot of things would actually make up that, what the amount of calories we should actually consume per day. But health for longevity and eating um, is important, because we need to be careful, or we need to surround ourselves with healthy food environments. So that is why I actually insert that section about healthy food choices of where you live and where you work, and I talked about eating habits, like the stuff that can actually put you at risk for sickness and disease, and stuff that can actually improve your health. So I try to give our readers a kind of, as I was saying before, an holistic view, so that when we actually start diving into nutrition, we are going to find out that it's an evolving science because it's always changing. So it's important for us to keep being as knowledgeable as possible as the trends and or especially when your nutritional needs change.
Correct. And one of the things when you talk about calories, a lot of people, especially for me, my clients, people say 1,500 calories, 2,000 calories. Again, it depends on your goal. It depends on your active goal and what you're doing, and also in the gym or outside of the gym if you're actually doing cardio, and how many calories you're burning. So please don't send us emails about if you're training for a competition show and you're dieting and bringing it down. That's something totally different. We're talking about literally anyone, basically a common person on a daily basis, and looking at how many calories they should eat. And sometimes because you don't have the energy, it's usually because you're not eating. It might just not be enough calories and you're burning so much that you don't have the energy, or you're getting headaches or things like that. So we just talk about nutrition, we talk about water, you talk about water as well, fluids and things like that in this book. And balanced diet is something you need to really invest in yourself, like anything else in life. You invest in other things, right, that you want to do, or how to build something. Well, invest in yourself, invest in your lifestyle. And this is one of those things I love about this book, is that there's so much information here that's going to help you get to that point. And I think, Mark, let's move on to those healthy habits and things like that. When you talk about also, people that are picky eaters, I love you use that, picky eaters in this book. And you talk about, people that just like specific things and they don't want to add things. You as a chef, how many times do you have to tell somebody, hey, try this, it's good for you, I promise you.
Right. So there are a lot of reasons, there are a lot of factors that may contribute for someone being a picky eater. Education is one, culture is one, right? We don't, and then people might have, genuine food allergies and stuff, right? But the fundamentals are exposure. Sometimes people are not exposed to or knowledgeable about the fundamentals of diet and nutrition, right? Sometimes if we grow up in a household or an environment where only certain foods are eaten and they're not, prepared to our liking, then we might just develop some kind of dislike for that particular food, right? And some people, we might just see a particular food and we just decide, okay, it doesn't look well, so I don't think I should eat it. There might be no, like a lot of my customers, right? There are no allergies. I mean, I would, let me give you an example, right? For sign up for one of my meal plans, right? I would ask my customers, like, what are your fitness objective, right? And then they would complete like a meal plan assessment form. They would tell me all their likes, dislikes, some stuff that they wouldn't mind trying if they ever try, So it gave me a wide arrangement of options to actually prepare for them, right? And a lot of them would put a lot of stuff here that I would look at. There are no allergies, there are no life-threatening allergies, but okay, they may not like this. So I'm saying, okay, what I would do for them is that when I'm preparing that particular meal, I would give them samples. And I know you don't like this, but try. This is how I prepare it here, And then I would kind of like always highlight the importance of that particular vegetable, right? Or that particular food group. And that would, a lot of times I get a lot of my customers to start eating a lot of stuff that, that they might not have eaten before, but because, culturally you may not being rare or brought up using that particular food group, but and then the importance for food is to food is meant to nourish.
Correct.
And later on in the book, I talk about the Hasdas in Tanzania who consume about 600 different kind of foods a year, right? And they are known to be so healthy, like one of the world healthiest people. And then compare that to like the Western diets where we consume like about 50 to 60 different food groups, and then we have all the the sicknesses and diseases over here. So my point was to when you start to expose and to educate and to teach people about diet and nutrition, about why this is important. Why eating your veggies is important. Why having a balanced diet is important. Why is it good to eat your macros? And how they scientifically and chemically balance in your body to actually nourish your body. Then they get a different understanding. So going back to being picky eaters, is that there are lots of stuff that kind of like are involved in someone becoming a picky eater. But I think there is another way I kind of trick kids into like eating nourishing foods. Kids have this thing where, if it's too green, they don't want it. If it's too red, they don't want it, whatever the case may be, whatever. So I kind of like incorporate all those kind of stuff into the sauces. I know they love pizza. So if I'm going to have the pizza sauce, trust me, if you're going to have a pizza sauce from me, it's going to be veggie rich because it's going to have stuff like beets and red peppers and tomatoes and all the stuff you actually don't want. They're actually in there. Because unless you don't have an allergy to a particular food group, then you should be consuming it. So I think there are lots of ways we can actually deal with people who actually are picky eaters, but the important thing is educating them.
Correct.
About why
Well,
they should be eating those foods.
I have to say this story. So I'm from Puerto Rico, and when I tell people say, "What's your favorite thing to eat?" I always talk about morcillas. My mom knows what this is. So morcillas is actually the intestine of the pig, and it's very, very spicy, and it's got rice but it's the blood of the pig that makes it so spicy and makes it so good. So we fry it, and in Christmas time, I think I have the most morcillas ever because usually I'll find a Puerto Rican place that has them. But I would say that if somebody would have told me when I was a kid what I was eating, I probably would have never eaten it. And then a few years ago, when I was after I moved to South Beach, I ended up doing a TV show in Spanish with a young lady. We were co-hosting, and I ended up going from restaurant to restaurant. Mark, you would have loved this. I wish I would have known you then. And we went from restaurant to restaurant to try all kinds of food. I am not a ceviche person. I found that out. I am not certain types of fish. I love fish, but certain types of fish, the texture I don't like. I ate pulp. I ate octopus, fried octopus. I've never had fried octopus. I ate cow tongue. I ate a lot of things that I've never eaten before, but yet I finally did. And then traveling with my family, with my mom, going to Italy, going to Spain, I ate bull and all these other things that I never knew I would have eaten unless they would they never told me, Mark. They just told me it's chicken, or they just told me it's steak, or they just told me it's something, right? And I eat it, and either I like it or not, but then the joke is on me because then they tell me, oh, by the way, this is what you're eating. So I think a lot has to do with experience. Now when it comes to pizza, Mark, I just don't mix vegetables with pizza. I am a meat lover. So I eat meat lover pizza. Now, that doesn't mean I'll never eat your pizza, Mark, but the meals at Brico Healthy Meals, I tell my menu all the time. You know what my menu is. We did a consult, and in the consult, you picked out, quinoa, brown rice, sweet potato, the carbs, my good fats. Then I have steak once a week. I have salmon, turkey, chicken. These are my proteins. I'm very simple. Spinach, I like. Asparagus, you do for me as well. And you'll throw in a lot of different vegetables. But the thing is, it all tastes good. But for me, I know what I'm eating, and I know why I'm eating it. But I wish more people knew that, But I think after getting sick, I think I took it to another level. And I said, I know I need at least these calories. I need these carbs. I need this protein every day. And because of you, like I always say, Mark's my angel. This is before he wrote the book. Now he's a best-selling author now. But before he was a best-selling author, he was just Chef Mark Wright, my buddy from Brico Healthy Meals that does all my meals for me. So again, let's talk a little bit. I want to skip through the blood type thing because I think that's more scientific. And you talk about blood type, and you can share a little bit of why you did it. But I know that blood type is really, you need to go to a doctor, get your blood type. There's specific doctors that know about these kind of things, and they will literally give you a write-up of through your blood type of what you can be allergic to, or what things can cause you to have disease in the future, or why things are a different way, especially in the digestive tract. But why did you write a little bit? I don't want to tell it all, but why did you
Right.
write about blood type? Just in your mind, what was you trying to do?
Right. So, like I was saying before, right? Everything I thought there, it was kind of methodically thought through, and one of the reasons I actually input the blood type diet is because it is something I use a lot for my customers. You know, um, for Breaker Healthy Meals, we have all kinds of customers, right? We have customers who are dealing with dietary nutritional problems. People are professional bodybuilders. People are professional athletes, and so they all have a lot of different kind of um, health plans, right?
Correct.
And they all have a lot of different dietary restriction. When I came across Dr. Diadamo's approach to health, I thought for me, and what I do, it makes the most sense, right? There are lots and lots. I just wanted to underscore there are lots of other theories out there that, I mean, if you're a medical professional or you're a sport professional, I mean, you can see exactly what best works for you and your client. But for me, I thought this one works the most sense because his approach was that you should eat foods that chemically react to your blood type because um, that way it would kind of like increase the way you metabolize and absorb nutrients, and it kind of would be much better in terms for your overall healing, health, and longevity. He talks about, a blood type diet you can help you look better, lose weight, help prevent sickness and disease, and the list goes on. But they will, like as you were saying, for example, for people who don't know about the blood type diet, I mean, they can research that after the Adams approach and see if it actually makes sense to you. Because he actually talks about if you're someone who kind of like your body requires a steak, I mean, eat lots of it because it would actually do you no harm. But if you're
Correct.
someone whose body kind of like uh, chemically does not react well to lots of red meats or whatever, he suggests that you actually stay away from those kind of hard meats, as you want to call it, and then and stick to like seafoods and that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like interesting. It's kind of like an interesting piece of research, and I kind of like use it a lot for my professional athletes because their nutrition is more scientifically driven, right? So
Yeah.
once you can actually select the stuff that actually would kind of give you the result that you're looking for, then just stick with that, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about fun stuff. This is fun. If you're just tuning in, this is episode number 3 of Healing Our Community, One Recipe at a Time with Chef Mark Wright. The book and the show is called Hope, Health, and Healing. And we are basically for the next few weeks going over this book in the mind of the author, Mark Wright, who's also a chef, who also is the owner, creator of Bricker Healthy Meals. He's also a gourmet chef. He does a lot of events here in Miami. Very popular chef here in Miami as well. But now he's a best-selling author. And this is one of my fun parts of the show because in this part of this book, we're going over fad diets. And as somebody that's been in the fitness industry my whole life, and as an athlete and as a trainer and a coach, fad diets are something that I truly love talking to my clients about. And I think we did something, I think a year ago, we were doing something on Facebook Live, Mark. We did like our own little thing, and we were talking about fad diets, and people went crazy over it because everybody's like, well, what about this diet? And what about the South Beach diet? And what about this and this and that? And we were talking about high proteins, low fat, or low carb, and this and that and whatever. But
Right.
tell me, we had those discussions, and we've talked about this more than just on Facebook or anything like that. But this is a serious thing because people look at fad diets as a quick fix, and then what happens is they can create other diseases, they can
Right.
create other things. So without I don't want, of course, we're not going word for word on this chapter,
Right.
but tell me, Mark, what advice or what were you thinking of how you can get people to understand that a fad diet still needs to be researched? You should still
Right.
do a little bit of research about who you are, what you eat, are you allergic to
Right.
something, or get some kind of professional help.
Right, David. When I was doing my integrative nutrition program, right, I kind of like came across like 100 of them. I never knew that there were so many diets out there because we had to like analyze them, and I was like, no way, they were like crazy stuff like the peanut butter diet, and it's like. And people try to get all their nutrition from this one. I mean, there are actually theories out there behind it and stuff. But fat diets are exactly what it is. Just what a fat is. It's just something that is not sustainable. Like we call it fads and fashion, right? Fashion is like a
Good
trend.
point. That was a great point.
It's something that may just be popular for a season or for a time, and that's what it is. So if you choose a fat diet, right? I mean, and I actually do some for my clients, and a fat diet is something simple like a paleo diet, right? Is and what I advise my clients to actually do is, if you have, okay, let me give you a perfect example for ladies, right? If you have a wedding to go to, right, and you need to move from a size or whatever, a size 8 to a size 6 or what the case may be, whatever, a fat diet can actually work perfect for you because that's what it is. It's temporary, it can give you the drastic results that you actually want, but it should never ever replace a sustainable, balanced meal plan, right? So the bottom line of a fat diet, if you have a particular dietary objective that you want to return, that you want to achieve for a short period of time, or you have, I would say, a short period of time to actually get it there, and you want to consider a fat diet, go right ahead. Do all the research, see that particular one, what works for you, but just be sure to understand it should never replace, because fat diets always have a lot of effects. Like, if you stay away from carbs or whatever, which is like the main fuel of the body, you can go into like a carb withdrawal. You're gonna feel tired. You're gonna feel hungry. Whatever the case can be, or whatever. So it's very important for readers to understand the difference between a fat diet and a sustainable, healthy, and balanced meal plan.
And I love that, when you talk about diet and people say, oh, diet is a bad word. It's not a bad word. And Mark talks a little bit about that, the anti-diet and all these other things. It's just a meal plan. We call it a meal plan. A diet is just a balanced diet, whatever it is. The best advice, I think, when I was listening to you, I was thinking of cleansing, right? When we do like detox and things like that, we don't do detox for more than a week. We don't do like, cleansing for more than a week. We do it for 5 days to 7 days. Why? Because we're cleansing out, but the body at the same time needs certain nutrients, needs certain things, and I think that that's a great thing to go into because we can go on the 5 diets all day long. You wrote a lot of material here about fats and vitamins and amino acids, protein. People that know me know I live on amino acids, the chain of the proteins. He talks about the essential amino acids that people don't know about. There's 20 of them, right? Is there 20 or 9? There's 20 amino acids, I think, in total, correct? And there's like
Right, but then it's broken up between the essential
and
the
non-essentials,
non-essential, right?
correct? And I take supplements. Even though I take protein, I don't eat more than 30 grams of protein. Mark makes sure of that. The meal plan that I'm on is 30 grams of protein. I have one kidney. That's another thing. You got to look at your kidney functions and your liver functions. There's so much. Listen, you're going to love this book if you get it. But I want to finish this segment, this third segment, with primary and secondary foods. And then next week we're going to talk about some other stuff with community and family and things like that. But let's talk about primary and secondary foods before we go today, because you did write about that and the importance of nutrition and health.
Right. So primary and secondary food is a big one. It was actually a new um, this whole process, this whole thought, this whole idea about primary and secondary food is one that I learned through my integrative nutrition program, and it was by Professor. It was I think one of the inventors or the inventor of it was Professor Josh Rosenthal, but where he actually explained that I mean there are two is of foods, and he called and he divided them up into primary and secondary foods, right? And you may think that the primary foods were the food that you actually eat, but he's saying no, they are the secondary food are important for nutrition and balancing the body system and stuff, right? But and important for like nourishing the body and stuff, right? So that's all well and good. But then he looked at what is called the primary foods, right? And he talks. So it's like food for your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. It was the combination. I thought it was like it for all the topics I kind of like evaluated and went through in this program, this is the one that kind of stood out a lot more because throughout life we were thinking about okay, how important nourishing your body is, but he talks about these other stuff like how is it important to have a great job, how is it important stuff like your physical activity, right? He talks about your spirituality, and he's saying that those foods play a lot more, or I should say, they have a lot more impact on your health than the actually food that you eat. I think it's like an overwhelming piece of thought-provoking theory to actually
Sure.
dive into, right? So we're talking here about hope, health, and healing, and that primary and secondary food kind of encapsulated it all because it kind of illustrates how important the food that the food that's not on our plate is.
Correct. No, no, and you also talk a little bit about the importance of good nutrition. You talk about the impact of nutrition. This chapter, I know we have to go, but this chapter was really detailed. When you talk about obesity, again, we did talk about this in another segment. But we talk about obesity in children, and we talk about diseases that can come from these obesities
Right.
and from eating, when it talks to sugar and diabetes, now we have a high rate of diabetes now. And people don't understand that, yes, some of them you can be reversed immediately, but some of it is not reversible, and which causes, of course, we look at dialysis patients, we look at renal patients because their kidney and things like that. And then your whole life now, again, these little changes you can make right now and give your body a chance to heal is what I'm talking about. And that's why I loved it. And you're very detailed, Mark, in this chapter. I'm not going to go word for word, I promise you. People have to buy the book. But you talk about, the benefits of greens. People know. But you also talk about it in a position of disease. You really focus on getting out of the disease mode and learning about these things in a way where if you take this, you eat this, you have a better chance of not getting these diseases, or you have a better chance of having this better life, and that's what I really loved about that chapter. So let's close today on that final chapter, and tell me a little bit about your thoughts when you were writing this part about the benefits of nutrition and health, but you go back and forth on disease, and you go back and forth on diabetes in children and things like that. So for me, that was a big deal.
Right. So, I mean, when I was kind of like deciding how comprehensive to make this chapter was, there was one person who I had in my side notes. It's just a matter of where should I place this comic. And I think David, on one of our previous episodes, right, when we were doing that C series in South Beach, we came across Heather Morgan, and Heather Morgan is the famous RN nurse and dietitian who became famous for her quote: "Every time you eat or drink, you either eating disease or fighting it." Right.
Yes.
So I wanted this book to be as holistic as possible, and for you to understand that quote, you need to understand nutrition. You need to understand how food works, and how it impacts your health, and how it impacts your longevity. So I want us to take a deep breath, sit back. The next time you are going to have a beverage, think. The next time you are going to have one of your junk meals, and I think one of the theorists call it crap, right? And he said crap is basically carbonated drinks, refined sugars, artificial and processed foods, right? So think, all those highlighted stuff there, they feed our disease, right? So the next time you're going to eat or drink, think and understand that this could either make us sick or make us healthy. And you
Amen.
choose.
Amen. Well, listen, we'll close with that. And until next week, we're going to go over more and more of this book in detail. And again, the show is called Hope, Health, and Healing. And I'm interviewing authors, best-selling authors, that are in some way, fashion doing that through their story, through their book, through their writing. And really, Mark, I've known him as a friend. I've known him as a chef. And of course, through Brick of Healthy Meals and things like that. But when I really got into this book, Healing Our Community, One Meal at a Time, it really just made me think about the more of the person. And that's what the show is about, is bringing you into the mind of why he did or why he wrote what he wrote. Again, he's all about healing, and he does it through his food. And I think that there's no better, person to have to talk about these things than Chef Mark Wright, and especially on his book, A Prescription for Health, Healing, and Longevity. Well, again, I want to thank everyone that joined us live on this episode number 3 of Hope, Health, and Healing. I want to thank Chef Mark Wright for sharing a little bit about the mindset of him while he was writing this book. And again, if the more knowledge you have, the more educated you have, the more you can do. And that goes with everything in life. Well, start learning about yourself, your nutrition, your body, and your life. And again, like he talks about it when it comes to disease, every time you eat, think about what it's doing for you. We're not telling you not to eat junk or don't eat crap. Listen, this is not, we're not really throwing anything down your throat. What we want to do is give you a little bit of time to think about what is it that you're eating and why you're eating it. Again, let your food be your medicine. Again, thank you for joining us again. And this is David Octavio Gandell, your host. And until next time, find hope, have faith, and live every day with purpose.